Good evening and welcome. I'm a little bit nervous about tonight and what I'm going to be sharing, and excited too, really excited. It's been such a process preparing all of this for you guys over the last couple of weeks. So, what are we going to be talking about? So 5 years ago this year to the day, I was living in a caravan and I didn't have enough money to pay my bills. That's why I was living in a caravan. I didn't have enough money to live in the house that we had and all of the stuff we'd accumulated, the cars. I didn't have enough to maintain it all. Had some big decisions to make, and that was 5 years ago. And today, without sounding like a big-headed twat and blowing my own trumpet, but I have to share with you the transition and the transformation to help you tonight and in this coming series. Today, I'm a multi-millionaire with multiple successful businesses, multiple properties paid for in cash. In fact, 3 years into the process. So after just 3 years of that point when I moved into the caravan, I bought a house, my dream house, that I turned into a magnificent retreat venue in cash and became mortgage free, aged 33. So it was a very quick turnaround from rock bottom and broke to the total opposite to that. Now, I'm sharing this with you because there are specific steps that I took to turn that around in such a short space of time. Steps that I want to outline for you. I want to give you a detailed account of what had to happen to go from that to this. Bearing in mind that I'm just a normal chick, like from the Midlands in the UK, definitely wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, wasn't privately educated, didn't have any form of leg up, is what I'm saying. Just dead ordinary. But managed to go from ordinary to living a really extraordinary life. And I know for certain, through my experience, that that's possible for anybody, regardless of where you are right now, how bad and grim things feel, how little you feel you know about business and wealth and whatever, entrepreneurship, whatever it might be that you feel you need to know. It doesn't matter, none of that's relevant, because you can turn it around and you can do it so quickly. And that's what this new live series is about. I'm going to be using my journal, which I've got multiple journals actually, but my journal from the time when I was at, I would say, my lowest in terms of mindset, my lowest in terms of money, my lowest in terms of achievement. And I want to share with you some of the entries from that journal at that time and how they lead up to millionaire success and a really successful business and a really great life. Because it's really easy to forget. It's really easy to forget what that felt like. It's easy to forget what was going through your head, what specific steps you took in those moments and what drove you to take those steps. So using my journal has been so powerful and insightful in terms of me being able to take from those pages the wisdom, the lessons, the challenges. I'm not just going to share with you what went well. I'm not just going to share with you the things that were awesome, the things that I got right. I'm going to share with you the absolute shit times too. The times where I were on my knees, the mistakes that I made when I got things really wrong, because that's the valuable stuff. That's the stuff that helps you avoid those pitfalls. It's the stuff that you can use to navigate your journey to success, whatever that looks like for you. If you're somebody that's sat there today thinking, I want to be more successful, I want to be more financially successful, I want to have a successful online business, I want to be able to be in control of my own life, I want the freedom to choose where I wake up, I want the freedom to travel, I want to work independently, location independent. If all of those things are in your vision, not quite in your reality yet, but you want to start learning the steps to take to get there, this is why I'm doing this live series for you. I'm doing it between now and when we break up for the Christmas break, so into December, every week at the same time, Monday evenings, 9 p.m. here for me in Spain. 8 p.m. if you're in the UK. If you're somewhere else in the world, I don't know. Check what the time difference is. Get it on your calendar, set a reminder, because every week I'm going to be taking you on this journey with me. And I'm going to be exposing everything. Sometimes I'm going to probably get emotional at some of these memories. Sometimes I'm going to laugh. Sometimes we're going to laugh together. Sometimes we're going to be emotional together. It's going to be one hell of a journey, but a journey that I'm certain will be worthwhile for you to take with me, which is why I've put the time into creating it for you. So I want to start at the beginning today with episode 1, where it all started, what led me to sell everything I own, everything pretty much, apart from a few special memories and personal possessions that I couldn't part with, rent out my house, move into a tiny caravan with my husband and 2 dogs at the time. And how has that helped me to accelerate my success? Why did that decision make a difference? Because some people would think it was bonkers. That's where we're going to start tonight. So before we start, say hey, let me know a couple of things. Where are you logging in from? Where are you in the world? And what parts of the UK, if you're in the UK? Are you someone that's known me for years? I'd love to hear from you if you are. Like, I know some of you have seen this journey unfold. Like, share, how long have we been in each other's worlds? How do we know each other? I really want to know how we connected, and why we're part of each other's worlds right now. What makes you follow? What makes you tune in? What makes you listen? I'm really curious. I know some of you have just followed because you've known me for years, when I was a child, maybe at school, which is so cool. Some of you have known me for a few years because you've seen this journey unfold. Some of you are brand new to my world. Share with me how we know each other in the chat box. I can't see the comments at the moment live. Facebook's being a bit weird and it won't show me the comments, but I am going to be asking you to share things with me throughout this live series. That's going to be a big part of this. I want this to be a two-way conversation. I don't want it to be me talking at you. I want you to be answering some of my questions that I have for you that are going to help you on your journey, and also for you to be in the chat box as well. And I will come back to every single comment. I will read every single comment, although I can't do it live. Probably a good thing because I won't get distracted. I will go back afterwards and read every single one. So here we go. So we're rewinding to 2015. Really not that long ago in the grand scale of things, but it feels like a lifetime ago. You'll notice I'll be looking down every now and then because I'm referring to my journal and I've highlighted some of the points in it. I started writing in my journal consistently around this time because I was just so stressed. I needed an outlet. My mind was so busy. I'd wake up every morning with my heart pounding. Like, I'd instantly feel anxiety the moment my eyes opened, and my mind would start racing straight away. And it was always the same stuff. It was always a fear of what was going to happen. How am I going to lose my house? Are we going to be able to pay the mortgage this month? What am I going to say when I have to go to my mum or James, my husband, his mum, and ask for help and ask maybe we can move in with them? Or these are the, you know, that worst case scenario thing that we do where we just kind of go to the end of the road and envision the worst case of what might happen. I did it every single morning. It was on my mind when I went to bed at night. It was on my mind when I woke up, this anxiety in my chest. And my journal was like an outlet to get everything out of here and onto paper. And it gave me clarity. It gave me a bit of distance from my thoughts and my feelings and helped me to see things clearer sometimes. And I really needed that at that point. And this is a habit that stayed with me up until today. I still write in my journal every morning. I was a little bit more inconsistent then. It's quite funny really, because I can see that when things got really tough, I'd stop writing for a few days because the things we need the most, we resist the most, always. It always reminds me of that image of me like pursing my lips together with my mum trying to force medicine in my mouth. And even though we know we need it, we're like, no. And that's what we do when we're in struggle generally. We know that a great morning routine helps. We know that writing in a journal might help. We in nature might help, but instead we sit in our pajamas and eat cake. And there are days when I just didn't do the things that I know I needed to do to help myself, and it was really obvious when I looked at the journal when those days were. So back in 2015, I was running a traditional business with my husband. I say traditional because it wasn't online. It was a physical business, you know, where you had to be somewhere at a certain time and actually meet people in person. Isn't that a thing of the past? In the middle of a pandemic as well. So our business was, in a nutshell, we were early adopters of social media. So we were using social media back when it was only for students, university students, when Facebook was only accessible to university students, and we weren't university students, but we managed to get around that and made accounts, and we were using it way back. It was before 2015. We were using it to promote. We recognised that it was, if our ideal client, which were students at the time, because we were running nightclub events, and ideal client was a student that wanted to come out and get drunk, and we were hired by nightclubs to make their club the place to be, and we had contracts all over the country, all over the UK. When someone walked through the front door and paid the entry, that was our money as a promoter. When they got a drink at the bar, that was the bar's money. So if the bar was full, everybody's a winner. And we would have to pitch to be the promoters for that particular bar, and then we would bring the people to that bar to make the bar a success. Now, we were using social media marketing when nobody else was using it, because we recognised these kids are on social media, they're on Facebook, so rather than doing what everybody else is doing and running around with flyers and jumping over university walls to get access to the student accommodation, we're just going to get them online. And that's what we did, and we were really, really successful at it. People would be queuing all the way down the street to get into some of the venues that we ran, and everybody else was kind of looking around going, how are they doing that? Like, how are they doing it so successfully? We still adopted some of the old methods as well with flyers and stuff, but generally we were using social media well before other people were. In 2015, we were exhausted, and the reason we were exhausted is because we were so replaceable. You see, when we made a venue busy and made it the place to be, they got rid of us because the students were coming now anyway, or the people were coming now anyway. It wasn't always students. So if people are coming anyway, we don't need to pay you guys anymore. Thanks, but goodbye. So when we did a really good job, we made ourselves redundant. If we didn't do a good job, we made ourselves redundant. So we're always stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because we had so many contracts, we needed staff. We had a manager in each city to look after the gigs that we had. And this is where we learned a really valuable lesson about people. And it was one of the most painful lessons I've ever learned. We'd already decided that we didn't want to be in a traditional business forever. We didn't want to be running around nightclubs forever. Didn't want to be dealing with, drunk people and working till 2, 3 in the morning. It wasn't sustainable, and we wanted a life of freedom. When I say freedom, for us, we never thought we want to be millionaires, that's the goal. That wasn't necessarily the goal. The goal was to be free. The goal was to be able to wake up and go, what do you want to do today? And actually be able to have choices and not have to be somewhere and not have to be busy all the time, and to be able to see the world. We wanted to work from anywhere. We couldn't do that in this business, and we knew that. So in 2015, we already transitioned into more of an online-based business, using all the social media marketing methods that we had already been using, but in a different way. And at the time, it was a product-based business, but it was very new, and I was learning. I was in the very early stages of learning how all this online business stuff worked, and everything was new to me, and everything felt difficult. And at the time, we'd only been in business online, in a product-based business, for just a few months, and it was our exit strategy, but it wasn't ready yet. Our outgoings at the time was around 3,000 a month. We needed about 3,000 a month coming in to just get by. We wouldn't have been living an extravagant lifestyle by any stretch of the imagination, but our mortgage would be paid, our food would be on the table, and we could survive. And our online new product-based business was bringing in about 1,000 to about 1,500, really, around that mark. So it was half our outgoings. It was nowhere near ready to be a viable exit strategy. Our nightclub business was doing well, but we knew that it was very unstable, because one month you could have gigs and the next month you could have none, and it was constantly like that. So one month your income could be amazing, the next month it could disappear. But it disappeared in the most painful way in 2015, because our friend who we had hired, given a job to, trained. He was actually a PT before he worked with us, had no experience in the industry, was on minimum wage, and We approached him with a very attractive offer to be a manager in one of the cities and run one of our gigs for us. We paid him very well on a percentage basis. And he went from kind of having a very low income and not having many choices to having a really great income and way more choices and a great lifestyle. And we were really grateful to the work that he did, and I guess I expected him to be really grateful for the opportunity that we'd given him. And it turns out he wasn't that grateful, and it turns out that people change when there's money involved, and it was our first lesson. So we went away on holiday. This guy, cut a very long story short, ended up having conversations with the nightclubs that we were in and cutting us out, basically, of our own business by saying to them, do you know what, if we get rid of them, I can do it for you for this amount, and there's a bit of a backhander for you, Mr. General Manager, and everyone's happy. And he then went a step further and said to our team, I'm taking over, you're not going to have a job if you don't come with me because they're going to lose everything. And our whole team in that city went with them as well. So we went from overnight having a six-figure income and comfortably paid our bills with some extra to nothing coming in from that business, and a huge betrayal from someone we thought was a friend. And it hurt, and it was scary, and the business that we were setting up online was nowhere near ready to take the weight of the responsibility of our entire outgoings, our entire life. We'd got a nice house, 4-bedroom detached, newish house that we'd worked our arse off to put a deposit down on. It had got a big mortgage on it. I'd got 2 cars on the drive, one for James, one for me. They were both financed. And the reality was, although everything looked great on the surface, we didn't really own any of it, did we? And suddenly the way we were paying for all of this stuff had disappeared. And it just felt like an explosion that just blew our life apart. And it wasn't the first time something like this had happened in this industry, because it's so hostile, which is why we were looking for an exit strategy, but it just all happened too quick. Hence the journal process starting, hence waking up with anxiety in my chest every day. And just, look, if any of you can relate and have been there and have been in a position where you feel like the carpet's been pulled from underneath you, or you're waking up worrying about money, like, I know you get it. And that's why I'm sharing this with you today, because it's so easy to think, isn't it, when you look at life as it is for us now, to think, oh, she doesn't get it, you know, it's been easier for her maybe in some way. And I understand that, because I've looked at other people that were further down the track when I was in that place and thought those things. But it doesn't have to be where the story ends, and you can turn it around really quickly. Here's some of the things that we realised that made us make some really bold decisions that you might not be prepared to make or aren't right for you, and that's okay. You need to make your own decisions. They don't have to be the same as mine. But here's what I realised. I was sat in my kitchen at the start of 2015, like first quarter of 2015. I'd just done a food shop. It's funny the things you remember, isn't it? And I remember because I'd been to Lidl and Aldi, because they were like the cheapest places to buy food from, and I'd got a really strict budget, and I was looking at the price tags on everything, and it was a really stressful shopping trip, and everything I spent, I felt guilt and fear from that money going out, because I was worried about it not coming back in. Huge amounts of scarcity, huge amounts of money blocks and stuff. And I got home, I sat in the kitchen and put all the shopping away. I'd cleaned the house that day. I'd got this beautiful home that we'd worked so hard to get this deposit for, and I looked around and I just felt nothing but dread at the thought of maintaining it. There was no joy in it. There was no satisfaction. It was just pure dread and pure panic at the thought of losing it all and not being able to maintain it. So it started to make me think differently, like, well, what's it all for? What's it all about? Why have I worked my arse off to get this deposit together for this liability? Because that's what it is. Everyone tells you, don't they? House is an asset, get on the property ladder. That was drilled into me, but it's dated advice, because the reality is, if you invest into liabilities first before you invest into assets, then you're not on the path to wealth. And that's why I was sat in this kitchen, broke, worrying about how I was going to pay for stuff, because I got it messed up. I'd invested in liabilities. The definition, the difference between a liability and an asset: a liability costs you money, an asset makes you money. My house was never going to make me money. It was only ever going to cost me money. Money in mortgage payments, money in interest, money in electricity, gas, and all the other stuff that it took to upkeep that house. It was never going to make me money. It is not an asset. An asset might be a home that you buy to rent out and make a profit every month because that's making you money. But if it's not doing that, then it's not an asset. So I thought that I'd done good, you know, because I'd got on the property ladder and I'd got this deposit together and I'd got this mortgage and this house was great and I'd got a couple of cars on the drive. They were all liabilities. They felt like a noose around my neck that was tightening. And here's the thing, it's okay to have a big mortgage and a couple of cars on the drive if what you're doing is creating a life that sees you get by. And when I say get by, you might even have a nice way of getting by. You might be comfortably affording it, but if you're creating a life of wealth, an extraordinary life, a life where you can have multiple houses, paid for in cash and all of that, then you have to invest in assets before liabilities. You just have to. If there's not enough for you left over at the end of the month to invest in assets, if you're just getting by like we were, if your outgoings and your incomings are just kind of doing this, you might get a little bit to save at the end of every month, but there's nothing really significant left to invest in at the end, then you're in trouble and you're not on a path to wealth. And I suddenly realised this. Now, one of the big reasons that I realised this is I'd scraped together some money the weekend before to go to a seminar, and the seminar was about money. Because one of my mentors had said to me, if you wanted to be a doctor, you would study medicine. If you want to be wealthy, you study money. And I was like, oh, of course. It's like an epiphany, of course. Because if you don't know what you're doing with money and finances and assets and liabilities and all that stuff, how do you ever expect to be somebody that's got a handle on money enough to be wealthy and accumulate lots of it? That's a good point. So I'd been to a seminar about money, and it was all about your relationship with money. It was about how to be savvy. It was about knowing the difference between liabilities and assets. And I sat in my house looking around thinking, this is why I'm fucked, because I've got it all messed up. I have been working to keep my liabilities. And I made some poor decisions. I didn't save enough. I didn't have enough of a buffer in case the shit hit the fan. But I've been working to pay for liabilities rather than working to pay for assets that fund my liabilities. And that's the big difference. And it was like a light bulb going off in my head, and I was like, shit. Because the reality is, my anxiety every morning is alerting me to a problem. It's not just anxiety, it's actually feedback. It's alerting me to a point here. And the point is, I've invested my money into stuff that's not going to make me money and left myself nothing to invest into things that will make me money. And the thing I needed at that time was knowledge. I needed knowledge. I needed to be able to buy courses, mentors, seminars, books. I needed to have the time and money to invest into this so that I knew how to be more. Because if you want to have more, you've got to be more. The bottom line is, I wasn't the person I needed to be that could create, in that moment, millionaire style success online. I wasn't, because I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the know-how. I didn't have the strategies. I didn't have the experience. I needed to get around people that did. But that costs money. Of course it does. No mentor, millionaire mentor was just going to go, hey, I'll just take you under my wing and mentor you for free, no problem. That would have been nice, don't get me wrong, but it didn't happen and it's not real life. The reality is, if I wanted to get help, I needed to pay for it, and I had nothing left over. And all I was getting frantic and panicked about was paying for the liabilities in my life. I'd got it all messed up. So with that realisation came a really powerful decision. And it actually happened off the back of a synchronicity, because my auntie, the weekend after that, messaged me and said, do you want to come over? We've bought a new Caravan. They were dead excited about it. It meant they could get away for weekend breaks every weekend and have holidays in it. Now, my idea of a Caravan was like something back in the 80s. It was cold and damp and old-fashioned, and I was like, oh, Caravan, why has she bought one of them? But we went along anyway to spend the day with her in this Caravan, not too far away in the Peak District in Derbyshire, where we were living close by at the time. And when we walked into this Caravan, I was like, oh, this is quite nice. Microwave oven, not much, but nothing, not much there, but everything you need. I had a lovely day in the countryside with them, making memories. Got home, put the key in the front door to this big 4-bedroom detached house that felt like a fucking noose around my neck. Looked around at all this stuff, all this space, and thought, I don't even need all of this. What the fuck am I doing? Another light bulb moment. What about if we just had a caravan? Even if I was in it for a couple of years, there's only me and James and the dogs. I could be in nature, working, no overheads or very little overheads. This house could be rented out. I'd have money to invest in me. I'd have money to buy the books, go on the courses. I'd have the space to breathe without waking up every morning and fucking worrying frantically about how I was going to pay the bills. Because with that panic and with that frantic energy, you're not clear. You don't have the clarity, the inspiration, the motivation to do the things you need to do. It's just not there. You have it to give it, haven't you? And if you're consumed, it's exhausting just panicking and worrying. I got to the end of the day and I was tired because this had been running a million miles an hour about all the bad things that could happen and all the things I could lose. But what if I didn't lose it? What if I just gave it all up and thought, fuck it, YOLO. I'm going after this hard. Harder than most people would be prepared to. That's the truth, isn't it? Most people would have gone, fuck, I need to get a job. Just need to be sensible. I need to get a job and keep paying for the liabilities. Do you know how many people I've heard say that? I need to be sensible. I need to get a job to keep paying for my liabilities. When did that become sensible? Wouldn't sensible and smart be, I need to make myself smaller. I need to make my liabilities smaller. I need to invest in assets, invest in knowledge, invest in being the best I can be so that my assets begin to pay for my liabilities when I can actually truly afford them and don't need them all on finance. Now that would be smart. But when you look around you, most people are living on credit, funding the system, and this isn't a conspiracy theory, but it's just true. That's what most people are doing. So you just conform, you fall into line on that. And I just had that moment where I was like, fuck that. James, let's get a caravan. Let's get a caravan. Let's sell everything out of this house that we look around and feel losing. Let's just get it gone. Oh my God, it was so liberating. I opened a Facebook page. It said, I am selling everything to live in a caravan. That was the title of the Facebook page. And you can join this group and I'm just going to take pictures, put prices on everything and go for your life, buy it all. People were coming around the house. It was like an open house. There was prices on everything. They were coming around and purchasing stuff. I moved precious things like my wedding album, photos, things that couldn't be replaced, gifts that had been bought for me that meant something, put them into storage. I kept a handful of clothes, the handbags, all the stuff that I'd bought that didn't help me with this and certainly didn't help me to become wealthy. Suddenly I was freeing up the cash out of it. People were walking in, people that were stuck in that system of consumerism, of buying liabilities, buying stuff to make their lives feel better for 5 minutes, were walking in my house and giving me their money so I could invest it into the stuff that really mattered, the thing that was going to make me wealthy and the thing that was going to see me live a life of freedom when I'd got the knowledge and know-how to. And I was taking that money and they were getting a bargain and I was getting the money I needed to invest. So I ended up with money in the bank, free of all the stuff. I can't tell you how great it felt. You'd be amazed at how little you actually feel about that stuff and what really matters. You know, for me, what mattered is the freedom. We bought a caravan on finance. I couldn't afford to buy it outright. Ironically, all the stuff that I'd accumulated wasn't really enough to buy a caravan outright. So, but that's okay, because I didn't want to buy the caravan outright because I needed to be smart. I needed to just invest the money that I had into getting smart, getting the knowledge so I knew how to make more money. So I had the caravan on finance, very small monthly payment, nothing like the mortgage. The house I rented out, hadn't got time to sell it, rented that out to tenants, just about broke even on the rent. Like there was not much left over, maybe 100 quid. But when someone damages something, that gets wiped out. So there wasn't much there, but that was okay because the mortgage was being paid by somebody else that wasn't me. And there was me, James, 2 dogs and a caravan. And I fucking loved it. I felt free for the first time in a really, really long time. I'd got some money in the bank to say yes to tickets to a seminar, to say yes to buying a course that was going to teach me how to do the next thing that I was struggling with, to say yes to being able to go and have some time with a coach. And I was growing at a really, really fast rate because of it. Some people might say absolutely bonkers. And some people might say, well, I can't live in a caravan. I've got kids or I've got, you know, and come up with all the ifs, buts. And that's okay, like, I'm not asking you to. But what I'm saying is, the first thing I want you to take from today is what bold action are you prepared to take to put you in a position to get unstuck if you're feeling stuck right now. Because no one's going to unstick you for you. That's on you. Like, that's down to you. You've got to do something different if you look around and you don't like what you see. You've got to do something drastic. And for me, that was this. In the next episode, I'm going to talk you through how I doubled my income in the next 90 days and went from that 1,500 quid to £3,000 a month, which is ironically what I needed to move back into my house and just be able to cover my bills, but I didn't do that. I didn't just go backwards. I never go backwards, never go backwards, always go forwards. It just meant that I'd got a bit more money to reinvest into me and into the business so that I could get to the next level. But it just took 90 days to get myself out of the shit. And I know for certain, if I'd have stayed in that house with that pressure and that stuff and no money to invest in me, to get the knowledge, to know how to double my income in 90 days, I wouldn't have got out of that house. I wouldn't have got out of that position as quickly. If at all. I might have succumbed to pressure and just gone, fuck it, I need to get a job, just need to get a job. That's what we need to do. And many people do, they give up. They give up on their dreams, and there's another way. So let me just recap some of the lessons that I want to just point out from step one, from episode one. Number one, if you've invested in liabilities before assets, it's not too late to change it. But just look around you and be conscious. It might not be that you just hand the keys over to an agent and say, let's rent my house out. But what can you do? How can you make yourself small so it relieves the pressure and frees up some finance for you to invest in the things that actually matter? Do you know, I had a woman say to me the other day, no shit, she reached out for help. She got on a call with me and decided, yes, absolutely need a mentor. This is it. I want to learn from you. These are the gaps that I'm missing. You're going to fill all of them. I've got this big goal I'm really excited about it. Do you know what she said when we got to the end and she talked about investing money to get that help? She was like, I don't know, because I need to get a new bathroom and I need to go on a holiday as soon as this pandemic allows because I'm just going crazy. And I was just like, I don't need to say anything. I'm not going to push, not going to convince, not going to... I'm just done. Like, I was obviously very polite, but that is not the dedication, commitment and attitude that's going to take you to where you want to go. It's just not. And unless that changes, nothing else is going to change. I can give you all the knowledge, support, everything that you need right now. But if you're going to choose a holiday and a new bathroom over the life that you really want to create here, over your freedom, over wealth, then your priorities are wrong and I can't fix your priorities for you. So you've got to fix your priorities. That's the first lesson. Second lesson is knowledge before stuff. If you find yourself buying stuff, even if it's stuff for your business, the amount of women that come to me and they say, Michelle, I've got this website that cost me a couple of grand, and then I had this team come in and create this pretty funnel for me. I got a brand expert to create branding and pictures and images and all this stuff, and I'm not making any money. But no shit, you're not making any money because you invested in stuff rather than knowledge on how to make money. What you need to invest in first is knowledge on how to make money. If you're running an online business or about to set up an online business, you don't need to invest in anything other than knowledge because you have zero overheads. I ran my business on top of a Caravan table with a Wi-Fi signal and desire and no pretty fancy fandangly stuff. Just that. That's it. Up to a 6-figure level. Before I even started investing in any fandangly stuff, it was all knowledge, 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 knowledge. And the last thing is, ask for help and look for synchronicities. When I say ask for help, I mean, when I sat in my kitchen having my moment and going, oh shit, I can see what I've done here. What an idiot. How do I fix this? I actually said it out loud. How the fuck do I fix this? How do I fix all this? And then the very next phone call I get is from my auntie inviting us to the Caravan. And then I walk into the Caravan, I'm like, see, if we ask for guidance, I don't know whether it's woo-woo and spiritual or whether you just want to believe that it's because you've asked the question and now you're more open to connecting the dots to how you could make it happen. Maybe that's true. It doesn't matter. I just know that it works. I don't know how it works. I just know that it does. So offer up the question. What is it that you're stuck with at the minute? Offer it up and then look for the synchronicities. Look, we are opening up 5 extra places for the Women's Wealth Accelerator, last enrollment of the year. This is my signature mentorship program. It's a 6-month being mentored by me and my team personally. We hold your hand through the steps you need to take to go from 0 to hero in an online business, or from struggling to absolutely rocking it with strategy, mindset, and a bit of spiritual woo-woo as well. So you need to be, I guess, a little bit open to that stuff, or at least curious. But the reason we're opening up 5 new places is because they've already gone. They went super fast when we opened enrollment a few weeks ago. But we have the capacity to support an extra 5 women, so we want to. Because the times now, we're in the golden quarter. The golden quarter is October, November, December. It stinks of opportunity in this quarter. The reason? Because people want to start next year strong, right? You want your business to be strong in 2021. People who have goals, the goals that you help them with as a service-based business, if you're a coach, trainer, consultant, or even just got an idea to start from scratch, you want to be using this golden quarter to get ready so you're making money by the end of the year and going into 2021 really strong with a plan to make next year the best year ever, because there's a time delay on the action you take and the results that you see. And if you're just sat there at the minute thinking, oh my God, this year's been awful, and there's no point in even trying to fix it now, because any minute now we're going to be into December, or then you're in the wrong space, because we can absolutely fix this year. You can still end the year really strong. Time has not run out. We don't need loads of time. I just told you I doubled my income in 90 days. And I just got the right support and got myself in the right space to do it. And that's totally possible for you too. More than that, with support. So if you're thinking, do you know what? Maybe now is the time for me to cut back on some of the things I spend on stuff or liabilities and start getting some support, then here's what you need to do. You need to reach out to me in my inbox and just say, hi, I'd like some more information about the Wealth Accelerator. I will then invite you onto a call with me personally, because it's really important that it's a fit. It's really important that it's the right thing for you in your business or the business you're creating, and that it's gonna be the right time for you to create it. So there's some things that I'll be asking you to consider that. And if it's a fit, I'll extend an invitation for you to join us this year and end this year really, really strong. Next week on episode 2, I'm going to be talking you through the things that I had to do to double my income in 90 days. That first 90 days of living in a caravan, what that was like, having just a few pairs of trousers and a few tops and 2 pairs of shoes and all the stuff gone and stripped back, and how I used that time, focused time, what I learned and the steps I took that doubled my income to $3,000 a month really, really quickly. So that actually meant I didn't need the job anymore. Like, that fear of having to get a job and going broke was over in 90 days. And that's what we're going to be going into more detail on next week. Same time, same day for episode 2 in the series. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Lots of love.